Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Today I have on the current number 3 player in the world. He was previously, just like a minute ago, Electr1fy, the number 1 player in the world, using a deck that I know you guys have been kind of scouting my channel for a while. You saw that I was in a clan with Electr1fy. It's a 2.8 minor poison deck. Let's go ahead and copy this. While we do so, Electr1fy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you, Ash?
Doing fantastic. I saw that you had a YouTube channel up yourself covering this deck and your accomplishments with it. Are you going to be pushing to number 1, hopefully, or trying to, towards the end of the season as well in just 3 days now?
Yeah, I'll do my best to do that, although I'm at school while it's going on, so I'll have to see how I'm doing both, but I'll try my best.
Always a challenge to contend in real life and in game life, right? So tell us a little bit about, as we get closer to the end of the season, how much time do you invest into pushing if you want to really be like top 10 or whatever? Like, how much time and luck and skill does it require altogether?
Well, pretty much 3 days before the end of the season. It's not that hectic, so I'd probably play, if I'm not losing or tilting, I'll play like 2 or 3 games a day tops. But let's say I tilt and whatever, then I'll spend around 2 hours playing or whatever until I untilt and everything.
Yeah, just like the rest of us, right? Like you gain cups, everything's cool. You put it down, you're good. You lose cups, then you start playing for 2 hours trying to get all those cups back.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna do some things in the opposite way that we normally do, just because I recorded these in kind of a weird way. I recorded right now. You can see, guys, just he's number 3 in the world, just as proof. I recorded these. I recorded some replays when you're number 1, and then some right now live when you're number 3. So I want to go through a play-by-play with the deck, and then I'll put on some replays from when you were number 1, and we'll kind of review the deck. So we're going to start with play-by-play. Hope you guys don't mind the format. So let's hop right into this first one against Metal Bond. And I'm going to pause right at the beginning, Electr1fy, till you're with me.
Yeah, I'm at 259.
All right, awesome. 3, 2, 1, play.
All right.
So talk a little bit about, just an opening, an introduction to the deck, and then move into the play-by-play in this match.
Well, basically, this deck is all about baiting a zap, because you have the bats, you have the Inferno Dragon, and you have the goblins. So I don't like starting with anything, because I might need any of these. So I'm basically just trying to chill and wait for his moves, although this deck is worse against high cost elixir decks on double elixir, so I don't want to wait too long.
Okay, so you're just going to be patient at first, then you decide to send in the miner. Is that because you saw the Mega Minion figure? You probably didn't
and I have to play, yeah. So I used the Bandit to lure the Mega Minion and not take any damage on the right side and force him to play. So that puts me up on elixir.
Okay. So you're trying to you said you're trying to bait out his zap. So
yeah.
How does that play into offense? Well, you're going to be
right now. Yeah. So I dropped the Inferno Dragon knowing he has to zap it, and then just as he zapped, I threw the bats, and that was able to take care of the loon just in time.
Perfect. Okay, so you baited out the zap. Now you got a little bit something going. He kind of mistakenly lured that bandit into the right lane, and then you make contact with the right.
And then it cost him the tower, just like that, because I did some positive elixir trades and forced him to make plays he didn't want to, and then he had nothing to do against the Inferno Dragon. So that happens sometimes.
Wow. So now that you have the lead, how are you going to adjust your play with this deck? It's still a really fast cycle deck, so do you keep putting on the pressure?
Yeah, against. Yeah, talk.
No, go.
Against his deck specifically, I know he has the mini P.E.K.K.A. and stuff to deal with my miner, so I don't want to go too aggressive. But against this time I messed up with poison because the mini P.E.K.K.A. went back. But against usually I do pressure because it goes to 2 towers. But against this matchup, I had to go full defense because it was either gonna be a tie or 1-0. So I played to defend.
This is a really popular deck, the Pompeo deck, or at least one of the decks that he used for quite a while that you're going against here. Do you think this is like an easier matchup or a more difficult one?
It definitely a more difficult one, Cause I think that if you mess up your cycle or whatever, I need to keep track of everything. Cause if you mess up your cycle and you have Inferno Dragon but you don't have bats, then the balloon gets to your tower, and if it hits your tower, a level 8 balloon does over, I think, 1500 damage per hit. So that's like a third a tower or whatever, even more.
Yeah, yeah,
So you need to keep
yeah.
track of your cycle and everything. So it's tougher.
Yeah, you're keeping track of a lot of stuff as you play these matches. Any tips for people at home who, like me, who don't who have trouble keeping track of everything? Like, is there a good maybe way to practice getting better at keeping track of things in the match?
Alright, so basically what I do when I play these matches, I map things that counter my deck. Let's say I'm playing a Loon deck, then I scout, I see he has, let's say, a Minions and Mega Minion. So I scout and I remember that he has Minions and Mega Minion. I ignore everything else. So once he uses one of these cards, I remember, okay, he just used this card. All he has to defend is that card. What do I do in order to bait that card out? And then do what I want to do when he has nothing to defend it. So that's basically my go-to when I play any kind of a bait deck.
Okay, and what if you don't have any obvious method to bait it out? Would you just play more defensively, like cycle in the back of your king tower, or what would you do then?
In this specific deck, I try to defend and go with the counter push. That sometimes you get humongous counter pushing. I mean, it's not a heavy deck, but you can get like 2 bandits and 2 Inferno Dragons and everything. I can share a replay if you'd like to of 2 Inferno Dragons on a giant melt in it. But yeah, but definitely I'd be more defensive. But this deck you want to be defensive unless he drops a high elixir card. Then you go all out other lane. You got the bandit, miner, whatever, and that's it basically.
All right, cool. Let's hop into the next replay here again, and we'll pause right at the beginning. Let me know when you're with me.
All right.
3, 2, 1, play.
Go.
All right, so this is against a much heavier deck than the previous one.
Yeah.
Against Mega Knight as well. So what do you think about this starting hand that you have here, Electr1fy?
This starting hand is kind of bad, but he had miner. He threw a miner, and I don't want to waste much elixir. And I had nothing good because I know he has a zapper on my best. At this point, I know his deck because I remember I played against him earlier, and my clanmates shared replays, so I know what he's running. But
Okay.
I don't want to be too aggressive right now. But I needed to use the miner. Other lane, he thought I was gonna use it on the same lane, so I figured it'll be a good time to go with bandit, and now I can just defend easily with gobs and bats.
Okay, so the reason that you went opposite lane there is to kind of mitigate his push in the other lane?
Yeah, and just because I knew that he used his bandit and he had nothing but Mega Knight to defend my bandit, so it was to force him to play the Mega Knight, and then I have the Inferno Dragon to kill it.
With a deck like this that's such a fast cycle deck, how do you know when your best defense is just applying a bunch of pressure to the other lane, or when your best defense is to kind of just defend hard in one lane?
Basically, if they have a big tank with no EWIS and no lightning, you're set. You don't need to do anything. You can just drop Inferno Dragon. But if they have EWIS, and that's the case, you need to either force EWIS by going minor bats, minor goblins, whatever, and or you just need to be smart about it and poison whenever you can, and just try to outplay. You'll see me do stuff like that here, I think.
Yeah, I noticed in the first match that you used a bunch of defensive poisons, so it seems like you're not afraid to do that if you have to.
No, I actually like doing it sometimes.
Okay, cool. All right, so here we have, you're able to shut down the Mega Knight pretty easily with this deck. Between the Ice Golem and, and kiting it or using goblins or whatever in the back of the Mega Knight.
Yeah, this deck is kind of old. I used it before Mega Knight was even out to get 20 wins on the 20 wins challenge. Even OJ made a video on it back then. And right now I figured that if Mega Knight is out and everyone's using it. I guessed it would be good, and I tried it, and I went 15 wins and 1 loss, and it was amazing. I got to number 1. But right now, since my deck became kind of meta, then everyone started using Mega Knight, Ewiz, Hog, Ice Golem, so it changed, but then it changed back. So I'm trying to follow the meta, but it's hard to keep track of.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You actually had really good defense here. Why don't we get back into the play-by-play a little bit and tell us like what's going through your mind right now?
Yeah, right now, Ewiz, I messed up with the Ewiz, but it's not too bad. I mean, I'm a little down on Elixir, but not something I can't work out. I'm way up on damage. So basically, I'm trying to get some poison down on his tower to try to cycle. And this time, I messed up completely. I poisoned at the wrong time, and it almost cost me the game. I messed up with the goblins too, and right now he went with the miner, and Bandit didn't dash, and I didn't have anything. He zapped just at the right moment.
Oh
and
my god! Wow.
that was so close.
Oh my god. So at the end of the match there, you said you messed up with a few things. Now, was the first thing I noticed that you played that miner defensively on the same side that he was targeting? Would you have played the miner on the opposite side to help kite the Mega Knight into the opposite lane?
Probably not, because miner is not like an ice golem. It'll go to the unit, so I
That's
think
true.
miner was okay. But the poison on his tower, I think it was bad, because I had 30 more minutes when the game seconds when the game ended. So I had much more time to chip with miner and poison, and I was just in a rush to end the game.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and switch over to the replays that you previously provided me and talk a little bit about the deck in general. So I want to ask you like the old school CWA questions on deck reviews, because it's 2.8 minor poison cycle. It's a little bit different than obviously 2.9, which was already super popular. Why don't you talk first about kind of the tempo in the first 2 minutes and then the tempo in double elixir time and how that changes?
I think I play basically the same. Only thing is I'm less afraid to use cards like bats and goblins just to cycle. Because in the first 2 minutes, they can punish you hard. Let's say they have a hog and I use goblins, then I have just bats to defend. So if they have zap, then I'm in trouble. And stuff like that scare me. But in double elixir, I'm less worried about these. And I think basically I play the same, but they're able to keep up with the offense more. I guess they have a harder time keeping up on first 2 minutes, because let's say they pump, then if I go miner bandit, they're not gonna be able to defend both. No way. I mean, so on double elixir they'll get out of it somehow if they have the right hand and whatever. But I think first 2 minutes is where you should try to do your best and take out as much damage as you can.
Okay, so you just mentioned pump. That's a good question, because I find this is it might be obvious to skilled players, but to guys like yours truly, it's not, right? So with this deck, if the opponent pumps in front of the tower as their first play of the game, what is going to be your go-to move?
Miner to the pump, and not in an obvious position. In the top, we usually go for the part that is closer to us. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain, but basically try to go for the less obvious placement you think your opponent will predict, and go with bandit on bridge. But don't do miner first and then bandit. You want the miner to hit the pump. It's more important to me than the bandit hitting the tower. So I'd go miner and bandit at the same time, so they'll see both units. They'll freak out, maybe add bats or goblins, depends on what's the situation, but they'll freak out. They'll try to defend both or one of them, and you'll get either a ton of damage or get the pump, and sometimes both. That's what I do when someone pumps.
Yeah, let's pretend that your hand was your opening hand was like the perfect case scenario against a pump. So they place down a pump. You have miner, bandit, bats, goblins, and then your next card is poison. So what would be your go? And let's pretend they counter with a knight on the miner.
Honestly, it depends where they pump. If they pump in the middle, Yeah, what I usually do, I go with the miner on the back of the tower, then bandit on the bridge at the same time, and then goblins, bats, whatever, and I poison. So
Oh,
if they
all
pump
out.
up, yeah, I go all out, and just like the bridge spam, I think it's like a new version of a bridge spam rather than a miner poison deck.
Okay, so that's exactly what I wanted to hear, because I was going to ask about when you would put the miner, kind of a juke miner on the tower instead of the pump. Hopefully they'll defend where they think the miner is going to go, and then you poison instead, and then it's a devastating attack for the opponent.
And you
Okay,
don't want to
cool.
do it all the time. Yeah, I mean, you need to
Yeah.
switch up.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, so talk a little bit about common mistakes with this deck. Like, what are we going to be careful of? And why not start with starting plays? Like, what would be a mistake for a starting play? Some examples might be sending in a miner solo, putting an ice golem behind your king tower. Would you ever do that, or is that a mistake? Do you need him defensively? Cycling bats or goblins behind the tower, or maybe a bandit at the bridge. Like, out of those scenarios, what do you think would be the biggest mistakes, and what would you think would be an okay play?
The biggest mistake would definitely to go with the Inferno Dragon in the back.
Okay.
I usually don't want to do anything because you literally need every card in the deck. But miner, let's say you drop a miner first play and then they drop a pump, you basically messed up your cycle for the rest of the game. So you need to be aware of that. I usually don't do nothing. You can see it in my replays. I try to let them do the first move. If they don't do it, I'll try to, let's say, go with a nice golem in the back. That would be a good play. Maybe split goblins. I don't like doing it because bats are zappable and you don't want to depend on such a fragile unit. But that's what I do sometimes.
Yeah, so bait is such a popular archetype right now, and it's maybe not incredibly obvious how you're going to deal with it in this deck. I mean, you don't have log, and obviously going against like a beatdown deck is pretty easy. You're going to be relying on your Inferno Dragon, and you kind of go from there, right? But how do you usually handle a bait deck with this deck? What's your tactic going to be?
All right, so basically, since you don't have log, obviously you don't zap the goblin barrel. You don't want to do that.
Okay.
What I do, I drop goblins. I have a replay of me playing against bait with another deck, but I use the same placements to counter the goblin barrel. Let's see if I can find it. But basically, you want to drop goblins in the further corner,
Okay.
and then they'll take care of two goblins. And one goblins will get one stab at the tower. And sometimes they see that you're doing it consistently, they'll prediction log or whatever. You want to switch up. You want to sometimes use bats, sometimes use the goblins. And you want to use the bandit on the princess. Because let's say they drop a princess in the back. She goes halfway between the bridge and the tower. If you drop a bandit on the bridge, she'll dash onto the princess, and right from the princess she'll dash to the tower. So that's a trick you need to remember, like that's key. And also defend it with ice golem, minor poison when you know you're gonna get value out of it and everything. But it's a hard matchup against a really good log blade player. Otherwise it's okay.
What kind of dog do you have?
A Labrador, yeah.
Oh, nice. What's her name?
His name is Sia. That's her
Sia.
name. Yeah.
Nice. Like the singer Sia, or just like no?
I don't know. My brother chose it. I have no
Okay,
idea.
all right, it's all good. All right, so any final, obviously I have to remind my viewers to make sure they go ahead and check out your YouTube channel, subscribe to you, and get more replays and advice on this deck. Electr1fy, any other like last tips for this deck that we didn't cover that you think are important to know?
Yeah, I actually, in my video that I pushed to #1, I did it live, and I explained all my thought process over there, so you can see what I'm thinking live when I'm playing the matches. But basically, just try to learn how to keep track of the cycle. That helps in so many decks, not just mine. And try to save the importing Zappy. I'll try to save the Goblins, Bats, and Inferno Dragon. Mm-hmm. And that's it. You play like a bridge spam. If they use a high cost unit, you go all out. You don't want to be afraid of it. It's not like a control deck. It's more like aggressive deck.
Okay, cool. I like that. So I guess last question for you, for me, is any sub for the Bandit and the Inferno Dragon if people don't have those cards. And Miner, I obviously, is very difficult to sub in a Miner poison deck, but
I'd say Bandit is really tough to sub because that's basically what you use when you pressure other lane when they drop high cost units. So you need the bandit for sure. But when it comes to the Inferno Dragon, I'm not quite sure yet. It's a tough question.
Do you think maybe you could like put in a P.E.K.K.A. or Inferno Tower and make it more of a control?
Inferno
variation?
Dragon would work as a control deck. Less.
yeah.
Yeah, and P.E.K.K.A. would be good, but that leaves you with only bats against air. So I'm not quite sure that's the right play to make.
That's
The
true.
right. Yeah. So wow, maybe Muskie, but it's really tough to substitute both of these. I mean, this deck
Yeah.
synchronizes so well. So the deck is the best as it is, I think.
Yeah, and do you think it's just as strong in challenges, or is it mostly ladder?
Yeah, I believe it is. It's really strong in challenges. It's even better, I believe, because not many people, most people are using P.E.K.K.A. poison and whatever. From when I played last, so this deck works perfectly against P.E.K.K.A. poison miner and whatever. So
Awesome.
You should check it out.
Awesome, man. Well, I just wanted to thank you again for coming on the channel. Congratulations and best of luck at the end of the season. Hopefully you can get high on the leaderboard, man. We'll be watching you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here again.
No problem, Electr1fy. So again, always a pleasure having Electr1fy on, guys. Make sure you check him out in the description below. Huge shout out to my YouTube partner, Bren Chong. Check him out as well. Does a lot for the community. Guys, thanks so much for watching. And as always, take care, guys.